Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We've bellied up to the bar. This is one I can get right. We can just call it Thanksgiving Eve, the largest, and most people won't believe this, but guess what, folks? Today is the largest drinking holiday in America. Most people don't believe that. Guess what? All of your college students are home right now, hanging out with their friends, partying at the bar because they don't have to make turkey. And it's also, it used to be the biggest day in America for pizza. I believe now it's just the biggest day in America for anything takeout, but it used to be pizza because no one gives a shit and wants to cook on today, which all leads us into nothing to do with our guest, but he is in the prettiest state that I've ever been to. And if you've never been to Utah, it's the weirdest state I've also ever been to. It's the only place I ever was sweating my ass off in April, May timeframe, and within about a 1 hour drive, I was standing in the middle of a whole bunch of snow. So listen, it's the weirdest place. Like joining us all the way from parts unknown in Utah, which is pretty much the entire state, it is Mr. Justin Lund. You like that one?
I mean, all right, yeah, thanks, Sean. Appreciate that.
Everyone wasn't too bad. I mean, I tell everyone these are completely off the cuff. But did you know that about the drinking thing?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Like, has something to do with all the college students being back, and they all just kind of. This is the first time being back from college, so they reach out to all their buddies and everything. They're like, "Let's link up and drink."
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, it makes a lot of good sense. So we're going to be talking to Justin about what is the real cost of success. Everybody talks about, hey, I want to be a success, or I think I'm a success, whatever the case may happen to be. But how many people really understand what that means, what that takes, and what the price you're going to actually pay for that success? So we're going to be talking about that today. But before we get too far, let's go ahead and knock out some of that homework we always have to do, some house cleaning. As always, folks, over my right shoulder, we got the big board for Sticker and a Cause. You have something you believe in, something you're supporting. I don't care. Maybe it's a business, a band, another podcast, whatever it happens to be. Wow, great. Good jump today. Reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, you name it. We're doing it in all these different locations. You reach out to us and you tell me what that sticker you got is, and we're going to share that with everybody else so that they know what you got going. Then we got to talk about the people that pay the bills around here. That is Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson Cooksaki, Schoharie. Can you pronounce any of these places, Justin? If I wrote them down, could you pronounce them? Schoharie, Delmar, and what am I forgetting? Oh, Clifton Park. I almost forgot Clifton Park. North America's largest custom window treatment company. They're handling everything from blinds, shades, shutters, drapery, tint, you name it. They take care of it. Here's the coolest part about all of it, Justin. You ever have to go buy something from a big box store and sure, you want to see what it looks like in your home?
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that, Ken. You got to buy it, bring it home.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you then got to spend gas money to go back out there again, doesn't it?
Pieces in the box and everything. Yeah, exactly.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you can reach out to your local Budget Blinds. They do everything in your home with your materials, with your fabrics, with their window treatments. Everything is custom to your place. So make sure you're reaching out to your local Budget Blinds. And if you're in the capital region here, Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson Cooksaki, Schoharie, Delmar, or Clifton Park is your local Budget Blinds for the month of December. Well, we'll tell you this. You got a couple more days here for November. You can still get in on their triple 50 sale. That's 50% off of one shade, 50% off of installation, and 50% off of shipping till the end of November. Then December, it's 25% off of all motorized window treatments. It's December. Everybody wants technology. Every kid's asking for something. So now it's your turn, Mom and Dad, to go get some technology for the house. Once again, that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson Cooksaki, Schoharie, Delmar, and Clifton Park. I'm telling you, if I wrote these down, Justin, like Cooksaki, you'd be like, I can't pronounce it. It's C-O.
I think I know some of these. I did stomp around out there for about a dozen years, so I've seen these places.
All
I've
right,
been
I'll
through
give you that. All right. So we're going to be talking about Justin. Let's jump right into it, brother, before we get too far. You've built and exited multiple companies, also been through addiction recovery, which I'm always curious about addiction recovery, because I think any of us who do the small business thing, we're an addict to start with. We need to be punished at all times is our mindset, and we can be punished better than anyone else, and we'll show you.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that I'm also is you've lost, brother. It hurts. It hurts to even say this out loud in public. It hurts for you. I'm going to be offended for you. How's that feel? Does that make you feel better?
I appreciate that. Yes, thanks.
Like, brother, tens of millions in legal battles you've lost.
Yeah.
How did this whole thing start?
Yeah. Well, which one of those chapters shall we dive into?
Well, let's start with let's start with the business. How many businesses have you really built and exited? I mean, I think that's most people want to know that stuff.
Yeah, I've exited three different companies. Yeah.
Now you were a founder, or you actually were a solopreneur? What were you doing?
Yeah, I was the founder. One of them, the biggest we got up to was about 98 employees. And then there was others that had 7 to 9 employees at the time of exit. And then another one had 15. That actually did a little less revenue. It was more of an agency model, a software agency. So yeah, different industries, different business types. Once you figure out one, you can get into some of the others. And once you figure out, once you go through a battle of losing $10+ million, you kind of see some writing on the wall. And, I'm a stubborn, I'm stubborn. I have to learn lessons sometimes the really hard way. And that's what it boils down to be honest.
I get it completely. Now, I mean, staying with the different businesses and whatnot that you kind of went through here, I'm always curious, like, were you always like, oh, I had my own paper route, I had my own this, I had my own that kind of person? Or was it you were doing something else and then decided I'm going to go off on my own?
So I've always had that streak, the paper route, the lemonade stand, that kind of thing. As a kid, I did love that at all times. So it's always been kind of flowing through my blood. There was a time when I got my girlfriend pregnant. We got married quick, and then I needed to grow up really fast and start paying bills. And so that streak was set aside so that I could have a job that, she really wanted me to be like a dentist, to be honest. She wanted stability. She wanted 401ks. She wanted me or carpooling with the neighbors to like some corporate job, something like that. That was her dream, to just put me in that kind of a box. So she knew it was 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Everything was kind of
reliability.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was about as far from anything I wanted as possible. So I thought, I don't know how much of this was conscious, but I got into sales. I was in sales in college, and I was putting my way through college, and I was pretty good at it. I liked it. I like psychology. So sales and psychology kind of go together, very much the 2 peas in a pod. And I thought, well, if I stay in sales, I could make enough money. It's not the reliable kind of corporate dentist job that she's hoping for, but maybe it's enough money that she just forgets about that. And I kind of sweep that under the rug. And that was really what led me to stay in sales. But it was in sales that I got myself in trouble with addiction. There was a lot of drug abuse in the sales environment.
I was going to ask you, what kind of sales were you doing?
I was doing high ticket coaching sales at that time. And
okay.
So yeah, people investing in real estate, buying coaching, going to seminars, doing things like that with old names like Russ Whitney. I don't know if that rings any bells.
Okay. I'm a big Zig Ziglar guy myself.
Okay. Yeah, we worked with Zig Ziglar back in the day too. I love him too.
That's my favorite. I can listen to Zig talk and Zig stuff all day long. It's just like if Zig doesn't motivate you and find a way to like make you feel like I need to be a better human, there's nothing in it.
Nothing will. You're dead. You have no pulse. Yeah. He gets you fired up. So we would have some of those seminars where Zig would be. There'd be other speakers. And those were some of the sales floors that I worked in. And those speakers would get the names of people that were interested in their products, programs, and coaching. And then I would call and sell them. And this was before coaching was a thing. I mean, I'm talking 30 plus years ago. So it's been around for a little while. And that's what I was selling. That's where I got into sales. But that's also where the wheels started to kind of fall off my bus, Sean. Initially it was the guys would bring in a pain pill, and I'm like, oh, that's prescription. That's not that big of a deal. No big deal.
Can't be bad. It's prescription.
Yeah, the doctors give it to you. So I started taking one of those once in a while, and that turned into one of those every day. That turned into one of those every few hours. That turned into hardly being able to get out of bed without them. And so over the course of a few years, I mean, I went into full-fledged. Like, those things are the most nasty, obsidious, like toxic. It's terrible. Like, what it does to your brain chemistry, your physiology, your body. It shuts down all the dopamine receptors. It shuts down everything in your biochemistry that makes you feel normal and good. It just blocks it all out. So you have to have them. And I don't know if you've ever seen movies of people that have gone through those withdrawals. Oh, I can attest that they're
legit, huh?
Oh, no, they're not graphic enough, pal. That's what I'm saying. Like, it
really
is worst.
One of my employees and I were just talking about the movie Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio and that scene. And look, folks, for those of you that are just joining us that are out there in whatever internet land we're all in, if you've got questions for Justin, drop them in the chat. I'll be able to see the questions. Also, if you're interested in what he's got going on, best place to find him is on Instagram at it's Justin Lund, Lund. You can check him out there. Give him a like, share, and follow. Make sure you like, share, and follow on this also for all of you that are watching it. If you're over there on YouTube, follow the channel. It is amazing what that does for us. So you're like full blown pill popper. What do they used to call that? Hillbilly heroin. You're full-fledged into it. What was the kick in the chest then, brother, that kind of made you go, yeah, this sucks. I need to stop this.
Yeah. So I tried to just stop, realizing that it was becoming way out of control. And then I realized what that did to me physically. I mean, I pale, white, sweating, nauseous, sick, freezing, shaking, sweating all at the same time, like terrible. Like, I can't this was all a secret. I'm trying to hide it from my wife and my brand new family, like I got a little baby and this is just not a great place to be. So I recognized that wasn't something that I could pull off without everybody who wasn't all messed up going like, dude, what's wrong with you? So I looked for opportunities to try to get her out of town, or if she was going to go visit family. I'm like, oh yeah, take an extra couple of days. And I thought, all right, I'm going to white knuckle through it. She's gone. I'll be in the house alone, and I'll just sit there. I'll go through it. I'll grit my teeth, and I'll get done. And I would go 4 or 5 days at a time, and then she'd be coming home tomorrow, and I'm like, I'm a mess. I can't let her see me like this. I can't. And then I would go back to what I knew would make me feel normal again. That happened a fair amount of times, maybe 4 or 5 times. Then I got in trouble with the law. I got pulled over, and that kind of forced my hand. So the cat was out of the bag. Some of my secrets were now out in the open. And if that wasn't enough, Sean, I told him a stubborn bastard, right? Within a month, I get arrested again. So I went through all the worst of the withdrawals, 2 weeks in the can in jail, right? And then I'm bailed out. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to stay off of this. I'm not making money. I'm trying to go back to my sales job. No income's coming in because I'm not in a good place. I have done no healing. I've done nothing to overcome this addiction other than just got locked up for 2 weeks. So went back to it to help make money to save my family. Like, that's the dumb shit that you say when you're in these places. Like, I'm going to go get some drugs because that'll be the best thing for my family. Right?
That'll help me. Like, I'll get,
makes sense.
I'm good now.
Yeah. And no more than a day later, I'm pulled over, arrested again. Now I got 2 strikes, felony charges both times. Same lawyer comes back and sees me in the can, and he's like, well, I'll see if we can, hopefully we can just get 3-4 years. And I'm like, whoa, what, bro? What'd you just say? He's like, dumbass. you were arrested with a controlled substance in a school zone with, like all these silly things that are on the charges. He's like, I'm a good lawyer, but I'm not fucking Houdini here, right? Like, you're gonna go to prison for some time. Like, I'm gonna try to get it down.
What did you do?
Oh, I was terrified. I mean, I was.
No. What did you do? Like you said you got arrested. Maybe I missed something just now. Like you're burying the lead here.
Okay. Well, I mean, when you're arrested with a federally controlled substance and you have enough to get you through the next week, and you happen to be within a mile of a school, now you're arrested in the school zone. Okay. So all these things, intent to distribute, school zone, controlled substance, all that, round one. Okay. Let's carbon copy that for round two, just a few short weeks later. Right.
Right.
So now this attorney is telling me, like, we got to go before the judge. And it's not just like, hey, this guy's been on hard times. It's like, this dumbass did it once, twice. Like, come on, no more 3 times the lady here. Like you're going to go away for a while. And hopefully we get 3 to 5 for a sentence. And maybe we get you out in a year or 2. And I'm like, the guy's name was Ed. God bless his heart. He helped. But yeah, I'm thinking of my kid. I'm thinking of I'm doing the math. Like, so I got this baby, I got a 2-year-old. This is just not going to go well. I got to be there for my kids. I got to figure something out. So we come up with a plan. And his plan was, the only thing that I can think of is if we try to delay as much as possible, let's kick everything down, kick the can down the road as far as possible. Right. Get you straight out of this jail cell into a rehab facility. Like, do not pass go, do not collect $200. You get the fuck out to where you need to go. So if we do that, and if you get out and you do whatever time there that they need you to do, like you listen to what the doctors say, no more of this bullshit. Nothing's up to you anymore. You're just you're in their program. You get out of there, they give you a clean bill of health, and you keep your nose clean, literally and metaphorically, for the foreseeable future. I will do the best that I can to delay all court proceedings. I will drag my feet. I will come up with excuses. I will give them a load of shit so that it's as long and as far away as possible. And then maybe we show up in front of the judge and say, Your Honor, yes, he's a dipshit. Yes, he was not contributing to society. But now, hopefully it's a couple of years, you've got this track record. And I'm like, okay, I like where you're going with this. Question. What happens if the judge says, I don't care? And he's like, well, then you're going to prison. Anyway, I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. So.
But you'll be sober going to prison.
Yeah.
That's all you can give it. Like,
yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. I'm real excited about that one. So that was literally the only option that we had. Otherwise, he's like, I just don't see the prosecutor, the judge, like, you've got, and before that, I had a DUI, which I wasn't even in the car. I was in the car. I wasn't driving anywhere. And I had a DUI.
Was that one of those DUIs where like you're like pulled into the convenience store and tried to sleep it off DUIs?
Yeah, I was actually, did a load of this. I was actually at a 12-step meeting, and I went out to my car to grab my book, and somebody in the 12-step meeting called the police because they thought I was looking a little suspicious. And so they did a blood test on me there, and I had pain pills in my blood. So they gave me a DUI. It was very minimal, just a trace amount, but I got in the car, grabbed the stuff, yeah.
So so you weren't actually high at the moment.
No, but it was in my blood, and I was, it was always in my blood, Sean. That was the point. I
was about to say, you were an addict at the time. It was going to be there.
Yeah.
I guess I find it odder. This is my mindset. Like, what kind of turd? Police right now. I'm doing this for your benefit. To me, that's the guy who you're like, dude, I want to push you down by your face. Like, I did that for your benefit. No, you didn't, dude. Like, you didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
I was going to get a book to come back in.
Yeah.
And you called the police on me. Like, who does that?
Yep. Yeah. And the police were out there and waiting. I got in the car. I get over, I grab the book, and then they were right there, right on me like that. I'm like, this is weird. My car's still parked, but I was in it and it was on the road. And they said, okay, we're pulling your blood. They did. And they gave me driving under the influence. So there was three charges over the course of 3 months. That was 2 months before that. Then I had the big charge, the felony charge of possession, and then the next felony charge of possession. And so that's where Ed was like, there's no way. I mean, you're doing something. You have 3 strikes on you now within a 3-month period of time. Something's got to give here. They just are not going to let you walk away. So the only strategy was try to buy as much time as possible and try to behave as much as possible. So I entered rehab. And even with that, Sean, I remember that moment as clear as day. I don't know how my wife did it. God bless her heart.
Are you still with her? Are you still with her?
Yes. Yeah. Same lady.
Right, so she got sainthood out of all this. So fair enough.
Yeah. She drove me to rehab. And it was an hour and a half drive, and I was just the whole way like, please don't make me do this. I can't do that. Like I was so terrified to go in there. I was convinced that if I go in there and because as an addict, you think you're keeping the wheels on the bus. You're doing all these, you're juggling all these balls, you're keeping all these lies going and all this. And without me there in the picture, she's going to realize what a shitbag I am. She's going to take the kids and be gone, and I'm going to be left with nothing but just getting out of this crappy state-run facility that, and I was just beside myself and just a wreck. And she had the fortitude to lovingly, but very, very sternly say, you got to get out of the car. You got to go in there. And I don't know how she did it. I don't know how she put up with all that, but wow. I went into that facility and transformed my life over the next 6 weeks. And it was a fucking miracle. I mean, that place saved me.
Now, I'm always curious. So, and listen again, folks, we've got Justin Lund on. We're talking about what the real cost of success is. If you've got questions, you're curious about something, please drop it in there. For those of you that are again watching, go ahead and give us a like, share, follow. I'm always curious though about people when they're in that wheelhouse of coming out of addiction, like that extreme personality side. How much of that, like, dude, I can sell, I can do dope, I can do all these things. Once that's taken away from you, and I just had somebody really good buddy of mine mention this to me, like for addicts, it's always the line of it's harder to quit than it is to be sober. And then until they realize, no, it was harder to keep the lie up than anything else. How much of that extreme personality that you have has also contributed to your success though? Like once you took the addiction away, you have to fill it with something. Mm-hmm. Your filling was to be a successful person, entrepreneur. Yeah. How much do you feel like, by taking that away, this is what I filled it with?
Yeah. Couldn't have said it more, like 1,000,000%. Sean, here's the deal. This is why this place saved me, because the staff that was there, the people that I got to work with, it was just phenomenal. And one of the pivotal moments once I got in there is there was this old man doctor named Dr. Bob. He looked like Santa. He's big dude, Bob. White beard. Like, I mean, he totally looked like Santa, but he had a real foul mouth. So I loved him because I love colorful 4-letter words, and he strung them together beautifully. But it was so weird because it's like, Santa shouldn't talk that way. Yeah. It was very bizarre. And I remember the first time that I sat down and I started talking, and he's like, shut the fuck up. And he just goes right at, I'm like, whoa. It totally took me off there. But he said something on day probably 2 or 3 out of my 45-ish days there. Right. And he said that addicts are some of the smartest people in society. If those of them that can pull their head out of their ass and start to see the world as it is, instead of the way that they try to make believe that it is.
Right.
I was like, whoa, hold up, do tell. What do you mean? He's like, just think of how much effort and time and bandwidth and brain power and lies and like all the things that you're doing. You've kept your family, your church, your community, your kids, your wife, your parents, all these people. You've got all these things going on. What if you centered that into just a few key initiatives that were actually fucking productive, that were healthy? And that just turned a light on in my house. Like, oh shit, that's really true. Like, I spend 99.97% of my entire existence just covering my own ass. What if I didn't have to do that?
Covering the lie.
Yeah. And so that's what I did. And that flipped a switch in there where I wanted to see what I was capable of. And again, you asked me earlier, have I always had the streaks of wanting to sell lemonade and all this stuff?
Right.
And so I did. I've always had that. But Sean, as I was an addict, and even before that phase, I never went all in. I was always doing something with somebody else. I always had a job, and I tried to have a side hustle, and there was always a reason why. So whether it was the drugs that gave me something to focus and be distracted a lot with, or just some other jackass that I had to deal with, that I wasn't really going all in on anything. I was just kind of testing the waters, being a little tepid, a little timid, kind of seeing if this side gig or this side hustle would work. And that's something that I began to learn there in rehab, that if I just brought my focus in, got rid of this demon that had been on my back for the last 3-4 years before that, what could I do? And that's where I just began stacking one brick on top of another, slowly but steadily.
So that was going to be my next question then. So what was you talked about the business with 98 employees. Was that the first one? And what was that?
That was a marketing agency.
Okay. Like why a market? Like, what was your marketing background other than sales?
That was it. And honestly, so I had the sales background, and I had a few connections that when I got out of rehab, there was a few guys that wanted to see me win. They liked me. I had helped sell products for them when they were doing internet marketing to generate the leads, and they wanted me to help sell. And so they employed me at different times. They got me to be a champion of their lead account. So if they're creating the leads on the internet, and then I put them into a sales floor that sells the products and services on the back end, then these lead creators can get more revenue.
That was kind of like almost like an early affiliate link kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I had a few of these guys that had done well, and they were building their own companies. One of them was just working through an exit of his own himself when I got out of rehab.
Explain to people what an exit is, because I know very well what an exit is, but explain to folks what an exit is.
That's selling out either the assets or selling the company entirely, and the owner being able to exit that company. That's why they call it an exit. So they're leaving. Oftentimes an exit like that will include, depending on the terms of the deal, but it could be the founder or a founding team needs to stay on for a transitionary period of time, which they're paid typically a salary, where they stay in and they work for the new owners of the company to ensure a smooth transition. And then usually after that, there's typically non-competes where you can't get in and take the business that you just sold and undermine, undercut, or compete against it, right? So those are kind of the few basic ingredients of what that exit process kind of looks like.
That's wild. So I think a lot of people need to know this, and I don't know if it's a non-disclosure situation, but can you say how much your first exit was worth?
Well, no, because that one got a little tricky.
What do you mean?
And as I exited, so that first time I was selling assets of the company, not just the company, because there was a few different entities involved, and some of the parties. I had one offer for, I can't say this clearly because I didn't do anything there, but I had somebody come in sight unseen and say, "I'll give you $35 million for the company," and I went, "Not a chance, man. I'm probably going to clear that next year." But then if now in hindsight, I wish I would have taken that deal.
Right.
So
having this conversation is what you said?
Yeah. Things would have turned out a lot differently.
Whole time in Acapulco right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it'd be a different background. I'd be sitting by that.
That would be the real background. It wouldn't be some prints on the wall.
Exactly. What began to unfold after that was the kind of the downturn of 2009 and 10. Things went really quite a bit lower, and then I had banks start folding. You remember the FDIC?
Oh, yeah.
There were a lot of banks back in those days. Well, one of the partners that I had in some of those entities, not all of them, but in some, had been using some of my cash flow with some of our higher cash flowing entities to get loans from different banks. So they were kind of pledging that as though that were their collateral. And they were borrowing unbeknownst to me entirely the whole time. So things started to get really messy, and that's when litigation started.
Now that's the tens of millions that you talk about.
Yeah. Yep.
So what happened with all that? I mean, because listen, folks, I mean, Justin is getting kind of raw here with us and letting you know, like, this is some of the real costs of success. Like, I mean, what I'm hearing from you, so you're spending all this money in litigation, dealing with lawyers, dealing with all these things. What was from that first exit and dealing with those things? Would you say, and you probably been asked this before, I don't know what your necessarily just your biggest takeaway from that is, because listen, all my biggest takeaway is I should insulate myself and know my team a little bit better. No. What I'm talking about, what was the one thing where you went, son of a bitch, I'm at the top. I should have saw it looking down. And how did I miss this?
Yeah. I would say that I can answer that question, and that the way to answer that is the things that you feel in your gut that you want to look away from, that's not a sign to look away. It's a signal for you to start looking into it. And gosh damn it, if I could grab everybody by the throat kindly with love and help them understand that you don't have to become, like, I talk to so many founders now that I'm a coach. I coach people through some of these things and some of these challenges they face, or exiting themselves, or creating a business that is worth more to sell. One of the most common things that people don't like to look at, because founders are similar, they like to build shit. They don't like to look at spreadsheets and tax returns, right? That's not our thing. Exactly. So they like to do this. Like, oh, this is the numbers over here. Then I'm just going to, I'll get there in a minute. And that, right? Like, how common is that? And I've done it. That's why I know what it feels like. And that's what got me in all that trouble. And if I just would have looked, here's the thing. I see it as, I remember the feeling. I know the feeling intimately. And I have this like feeling of inadequacy that if I start looking at numbers, it's going to expose that I don't really know what the hell I'm doing. And so we have this fear, and we build up this fucking fake boogeyman in our head that if we even look at numbers, we have to become a CPA with 2 master's degrees and know how to use Excel, QuickBooks, and every other accounting software with our eyes closed. And it's just bullshit. Like, just spend an hour this month with numbers. Read a fucking book on simple numbers, like, just do something. Start. And it's like anything else that we've done or built as an entrepreneur. We just started and we kind of figured it out as we go. Yet when we get into some of these other areas that are dicey, we put up this wall and we don't want to look. And so I would say that big takeaway, Sean, is I started learning that feeling, that knot that kind of starts to form in my gut, it's a signpost. It's a signal for me to go, whoa, 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 hold up. Don't shun it. Look at it. And the way that I look at it, I started to develop a little bit of a rhythm for this, is I put it in my calendar. So I will schedule those things that once I recognize it, I name it, I write it down, and then I put that shit in my calendar once a week for 30 minutes. Because if I do that, at least it's a start. Like,
that's amazing. Like, brother, I can't even. So it's funny. And Z's absolutely right. It's human nature to try to, I don't want to look in the dark place. It's funny you say that. I was just talking with my own coach, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking at my spreadsheets here, and I can look at a P&L, and the first place I look is the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as long as the bottom right corner is still the right color, obviously we're still doing good. Right. I said that was my mindset for a long time, but I need to understand, how do I look for the element in that P&L that goes, hey, we spent $3,000 in gas this past month. Yeah. There's no way we spent $3,000 in gas. Mm-hmm. What am I missing? Somebody's been taking the gas card home.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so how do you train, as from a coaching standpoint? And again, folks, we're on here with Justin Lund. We're talking about what the cost of success is. If you want to know what Justin's got going on Instagram, is probably the best spot at It's Justin Lund, on Instagram. Make sure you go and give him a follow. So for you from a coaching standpoint, how do you help somebody to kind of go, it's easy to say, hey, stop and take a look at these things. But how do you get someone to go, pause, man, look over here? How do you do that from a coaching standpoint?
Yeah, great question. I believe a lot in the rhythms of business, and if I can get somebody to start, most people don't like to dive in, again, like Zeeb mentioned, the human nature side of things. I don't try to fight against human nature. I try to align with it, right? So if I can get a win with a client fast and show them, usually the way that when people come to me, my jam is what people are attracted to me by is there's kind of chaos in their lives. And it's usually like, I'm just stretched too thin. I call it a capacity ceiling, right? That's something where they hit this point, and I draw it like this. Okay, I got it right here. It's all over the place. The top line is the ceiling, the bottom line is the floor, and everybody operates in that, just doing these little zigzags because that's their thermostat, right? When things get a little hot, then it turns down and things get a little cooler. Nobody will, like, human nature doesn't allow them to break through the ceiling easily, but nor will they stand for going below the floor. So it's crazy, Sean. People find that thermostat, that comfort zone, and they stay there. They camp there. They live there for decades sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I got a client that's 23 years in business. He's been operating within $3 million of revenue, plus or minus 100,000 for 20 of the 23 years.
That's a good, comfortable living.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what that is. I've hit a comfortable living.
Yep. And he's doing okay, but yet it turns down, chaos. I'm not going to make payroll. Up the heat goes. And then we get to the top, and it's like we can take our foot off the gas and things start to slump and coast back down. And so that's why he's working with me. He's like, I'm seeing the pattern. I'm almost 60 years old now. I can't do this shit anymore. How do I break out of that ceiling? So when people come to me, that's often what's going on. I look for ways to win. So you say, like, how do I get people to look at those numbers? I don't just jump in and be like, hey, silly, start looking at the numbers. Let's first win. Can I help you get 5 hours back, 6 hours, 8 hours back in your week? Because if right now your biggest bottleneck, your biggest pain point is the amount of time you're just trapped, you're stuck in the business 60 hours a week. Well, let's see if I can get that to 40. If I can show you how to get to 40 in the next 90 days, you're going to know that you're going to give me a little credibility, right? We're going to celebrate some of those wins. I'm going to give you a little pressure release on that. Now with that, what can we do? So I start helping people think about that in advance. Where are you going to redeploy the time? If you get 5 hours next week, what would you do with it? So there's a book called The Goal by, I can't pronounce that author's name. I apologize. But it's one of the books that Jeff Bezos has his leadership team. It's a required read. And this book talks about the theory of constraints. And the basic premise is, if you're running a company, don't focus on the shit that's going okay. Focus on the area because you're always going to have a problem to solve, a fire to put out. So focus on the area of constraint and go solve that problem. So a metaphor, like if you're building vehicles, like you're running an automobile manufacturing company. If you can put out 5 chassis, 6 engines, but only 1 set of wheels per day, where's your constraint? Is it wheels, right? Don't go fuck around with the engine department. They're doing okay. You know what I mean?
They're making it happen.
Yeah. So you focus your energy in on the thing. So I talk about these things while trying to develop these rhythms to get people to kind of stack their day, compartmentalize what they work on. So there's not as much transition between, I'm going to do invoicing for a minute. I better go take the sales call. And then I got to go talk to the guys in the shop about delivery. And now I'm going to come back to invoicing again because that son of a bitch didn't pay yet. So I got to call and do collections. When they're doing all these transitionary tasks, they're losing time and energy between the tasks that they don't really realize. It's really hard to quantify. And unless they stop and do a time and energy audit and like really track where their time's going, they just think they're busy as shit all day long. But if I can stack some of these things into compartments and say 90 minutes, all we're going to do is collections. Let's get these rhythms down. And then we start bringing in some quick wins with administrative help. People hire out of order all the time.
That was going to be my next thing, is because I know for myself, one of my first hires when we grew was, I was like, God, I went from 3 to 5. How do I do this?
Okay.
And my first hire was an assistant, and it was I work with a group called Alter Call, Ryan Blair, and that was the first thing they were like, dude, you need an assistant. I'm like, and it was tough. I mean, and it wasn't tough because I wanted, how do I hand this off to somebody? I feel like I'm a strong trainer. I can teach.
Okay.
It was more of, gotta pay somebody else now. That's another person I gotta pay. This is bullshit. Do you know how many people are on my payroll now? I don't want to pay somebody. How much of that do you run into with a person who they've hit that comfort zone? They're in their, hey, I know exactly what we're going to make each year. We can still do the vacation. We can still buy it's year 3. We can still do the new car. Yep. How difficult is it to get them to go, hey, bud, you got to pay somebody else or you're never getting outside of here?
It can be tough sometimes. And everybody's a little bit different, but typically when we start getting into some of the details of where their time's going, Sean, that becomes a little more apparent that there is a need. And I'm so glad that you mentioned you hired who you hired, because that's how I start in I talk to founders about a delegation pyramid. And we go from the bottom to the top. Just like when you build a house, you don't start with the roof, for hell's sakes. But at the top are things like leadership, CEO, visionary stuff. And sometimes people, I call it unicorn hunting, right? These founders, right? Because that's what we do. That's kind of our gift. We're special. We get up in the morning. We don't know what the hell we're doing, but we go at it like our life depends on it. And we just go and we build shit out of nothing. That's very bad if you do that when it comes to people, because people are messy. We're dicey. We're slippery sometimes. Like the human element is what makes business hard. So when we look at a potential employee and say, man, I'm gonna put some lipstick on that pig, I'm gonna polish him up, I'm gonna train him, I'm gonna show him how everything works. We talk ourselves into this romantic sounding solution. There's even books out there about get your operator to your visionary and get the complimentary, which I think it's possible, but I don't think it's very probable to get that. I think that's the unicorn. It's a 1 in a million shot where you find somebody that just perfectly complements your visionary status with their one person loves to live in spreadsheets and do all the logistical shit when somebody else loves to just be head in the clouds and thinking and dreaming. And when somebody starts a business and they're doing $500,000, $1 million a year, and they think they're going to go find that operator to their visionary, I would say, whoa, go back to what Sean just said. Hire yourself an assistant first. Figure out what it takes to delegate shit and get your time back so that you can spend your time pulling these levers that are $10,000 levers instead of you spending your time on $10 tasks.
It's one of my old mentors, I still talk to him. He used to call it understanding the difference between glass balls and rubber balls. You ever heard this?
It sounds familiar, but
so he was great about this. He used to talk about tasks. There's rubber ball tasks and glass ball tasks. Okay. Rubber ball tasks, I can juggle and I can drop a rubber ball. It's going to hit the ground and it's going to come back into my hands and I can keep going. So that might be, hey, did you order lunch today?
Yeah.
Glass balls are the items that when you drop them, they shatter. And when you go to try to pick the pieces up, you drop another glass ball and another rubber ball. And before you know it, everything is on the ground and you're fighting to pick all the pieces up.
Cut yourself.
Exactly. It's all those analogies to the situation. And hearing what you're saying is exactly what I try to get people to understand. Like I said, having an assistant for me now was, and give me a second. We got to talk about our spot. Okay. We're at the New Scotland dude. We've run through this show already. Good Lord. I mean, this is all right up my alley. If I can ever get my stuff to come up here. Let's be honest. Most whiskeys play it safe, but not this one. New Scotland Spirits doesn't care about trends, hypes, or gimmicks. Let you make bold, small batch whiskey the old school way with real grain, real fire, and zero tolerance for weak pours. This is this kind of bottle you bring to the table when you give a damn. Pay attention to that word. Or better yet, when you don't. So So stop sipping the same boring stuff and pour yourself something with guts. Visit newscotlandspirits.com and grab a bottle that actually says something. New Scotland Spirits, for those who actually give a dram.
Mm.
You like that?
All
I
right.
like that one. But back to what we were saying here is, I mean, for me, having an assistant was a game changer. And I'm curious when you're working with people, because this is something I figured out. My virtual assistant was in my network already, and I didn't realize it.
Okay.
I was told I need a fractional CFO. Hey, we can talk afterwards. I don't talk about it on here. When we figured out where I was at with numbers, it was like, okay, you're doing good. You're just looking at that bottom right-hand corner. You need somebody to teach you the rest of this. I'm like, yes, that's what I want you guys to do. They're like, no, you need a fractional CFO. And I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And I went to my daily accountant, and I said, hey, do you know any? She called me an asshole. And she was like, one of your oldest friends, the person who introduced me to you, is a fractional CFO. He has his own consulting company. I'm like,
wow.
Norm does? He's my accountant. And I'm like,
yeah,
he was a CFO for like TV stations and non-for-profits and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, but I thought he did other stuff. I didn't know he did. I'm like, I was like, Norm, do you do that? He goes, Murph, I've been waiting for you to ask me. He goes, I knew it was coming. I just figured sooner or later we talk about it. But they were in my own network. How many times do you work with some of these people and they don't realize all their help is in their own network? Mm-hmm. They're just waiting for them to ask, like, hey, man, can you help me?
Yeah, that a lot. Okay. One of my clients just recently, same thing, got an assistant started, already there. As soon as he got over that wall of like, well, I don't think I really need that. And I won't know what I'd even have him do. Like, I need guys out in the field. I need guys that are doing installs. I need guys that are doing this stuff. But then after a couple conversations, he goes, I actually know a gal that'd be perfect. And man, she's been on the job for 2 months now and she's crushing it for him. So it's true. It's just a lot of people don't recognize exactly what they would have an assistant do, and they don't recognize the need. But I love your analogy of the rubber and glass balls and the differences therein, because it's like those levers, I had one of my clients a while back. She was running a marketing agency, and she was going into stretched thin as could be, 7, I think, employees. And she was going into the office on Saturday to do a little catch up and cleaning. So she'd go clean. I did an exercise with her to show her what her time was worth. And I took top line revenue, divided that by the number of hours. No, not top line, gross margin, rather. Her gross margin divided by the number of hours that are in an average work year. So if you work full time, 40 hours a week, that's 2,080 hours a year, right? So I'm like, okay, take that number there and let's divide it by 2080. It was over $400, just a little north of $400.
Okay.
So I'm like, so your time is worth $400. She's like, wait, do that math again. So I walked through it again. She's like, are you shitting me? You're telling me that I'm like that? You're the one in this company that drives revenue. There's none of the other people that do revenue producing activities. You're the one. They're all support. So your time is literally worth $400. You just spent how many hours in the office cleaning it on Saturday? She said 4. So, okay. So do you think, and then she starts doing like this, how much
a $600 cleaning job you did?
Do you think in LA you could find somebody that could do as good of a job or pretty close to as good of a job that you have done? And she's like, well, of course. I said, now let's try this on. Let's see if your bleeding heart can get on board with this idea. Do you think that person that you might be able to find to clean your office could do it for $25 an hour, and that you might be doing them a favor and giving them income that they don't have now? And she's like, oh, yes. She never touched the cleaning supplies again. Her revenue went up a lot. It over doubled in the next 10 months because she started getting pissed about the things that she was doing that was below her pay grade,
It's funny you mentioned the assisting there. I get so frustrated when people are like, capitalists are horrible, they're bullshit. And I'm like, you do realize those are the people that feed everyone, that support everyone, that take care of everyone. Like, I want everyone to read the book. by Reverend David Lavin or Daniel Lavin called Business Secrets of the Bible. And
I've not read that.
Oh God, dude. Business Secrets of the Bible by Daniel Lavin is one of these books that as I listened to it, I was like, son of a bitch, he's right. Cause he gets into he's one of these guys that gets into I don't donate to charities. I'd rather just hire somebody, another person, support them, take care of them. They're going to support their family. They're going to support, he really helps you understand that, that he follows the same thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but Henry Ford used to hate charities.
Okay.
He would never take Ford funds and support a charity because his mindset, this was also the same thing as Carnegie said the same thing. I'm never going to use company revenue to support a charity because his mindset was that is money that belongs to shareholders.
Yeah.
That if I use that money to support a charity I believe in, it may not be what my shareholders believe in, which may make them not shareholders. Also, they may donate to something completely different with the funds that they receive from me that they support. And it's such a anti everything we do today in this country. We expect that our corporations are going to do all these things. Yeah. But when you explain to somebody that, hey, you know, that company that, doesn't pay any taxes, it's in your community because they gave them a $10 billion land deal. And you're like, that's crazy. I can't believe they employ 15,000 people that pay taxes in your community. That built houses in your community. Like how hard is it in your world? Because it's frustrating in mine when I try to explain to people, guess what, folks? I'm pretty left leaning also. I am a very socially liberal person.
Okay.
Fiscally conservative. But then I explain this and people are like, that doesn't make sense. You don't make sense. I'm like, no shit. I'm speaking in English. But how hard is it for you to get entrepreneurs to understand that hey, that extra person, here's all the trickle down effects like you were just talking about with hey, you just saved yourself $1,600 by doing that. One of my closest friends who's a CHRO was the first person to teach me this. He's like, why do you cut your own grass? I'm like, I'm not paying someone to cut my grass. And he's like, and he did the same thing you did and broke it down for me as what do you make an hour? Could you pay somebody else to cut your grass and get that time back with your family? Yeah. And I'm like, son of a bitch, I hate you for that. Yeah. But it was an eye opener.
For sure. For sure. So I'll add this though. When I lived in Vermont, I cut my own grass because I kind of liked it. So I would say if it does something for you, if it fills you up with something, I had 2.5 acres of lawn and there was lots of trees and lots of stuff to mow around. And so it took me 3 hours plus to mow the lawn. And when I would mow the lawn, I'd get done and I'd look at it and be like, I liked it because it wasn't using my brain as much as I was doing something, listening to music, and I was cruising along my little riding lawnmower, it was awesome. But it gave me a different return than that. But if it was, well, I'll give you a good example. I've been trying to get in shape this year. That's been a big goal in 2025. And I knew after I got about a third of the way, or about 2-3 months into the year, I realized meal prep is where it's going to come from. I started learning enough about it, started putting shit in my calendar, like I told you a few minutes ago. And then I started figuring out, learning more and more and more. And I realized I need a certain amount of meals and calories and macros and shit like that needs to go in my body. And that meant prepping meals in advance. I did that for one day and went, I fucking hate this. This is the worst. It's absolutely.
I respect that. I understand.
I mean, I was so pissed off, Sean. I was standing in the kitchen. My back was hurting and I was cursing and I was like, fuck this. I do not. This is crap. Yeah. And then I went, whoa, what am I doing? I'm a delegation guy. Come on. And so I grabbed my phone. I grabbed a tripod. I stuck it on there. I made the rest of the meal. I spoke out loud what I was doing. I came to work the next day. I'm like, hey, guys, will you put an ad up on Facebook? I want to find somebody to come help me in the meal prepping. Now I got a girl that comes over to my house. She spends about 2 hours, maybe 1 to 2 times a week, depending on my schedule of things and if I'm traveling. And I pay her $15 an hour. I leave to work every single day with a Yeti cooler that has 2,400 calories in it every single day. I
All
just
set,
gotta,
ready to
I
go.
just gotta eat that box. That's all I gotta do. I gotta just eat that box. At certain times, I grab shit out of there, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to the gym. I'm gonna grab that box of stuff out of my Yeti, and I'm done. So
See, I love that.
see, that's different than mowing the lawn. Mowing the lawn, I liked it, and it gave me a return. But when I saw something, we're talking seriously $30 to $65 a week. Now, here's what gets cool: is after she started coming over and getting the hang of things, I'm like, yeah, could you like hit the floors when you're done? You know, maybe just like sweep up around here.
Do a little,
Like, yeah,
do a little
no
service
problem.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem. And then my wife comes home, is like, did you what the floors? Somebody did the floors. I'm like, you can thank me for that one.
I took care. I
had it taken care of. I got you. And then it was maybe the bathroom could get tidied up a little bit. She's like, yeah, no problem. And again, every time that I've just expanded her role just a little with a little here and there, she's grateful. She's getting paid a little bit more money. She's got a couple more walking around dollars in her pocket.
All right.
My wife is happy. I'm happy. Like, you know, like this is not. So I love those kind of ideas. And I'm thinking of them because of how you're talking about these, you know, I would say that first of all, I've gotten down to a body fat percentage and a weight and everything that I've never been in all my life. 46 years old, almost 47. And I've never been as good of shape as this. So if that's the obstacle to getting healthy, like $65 a week, are you shitting me? It's nothing.
I can see that as an obstacle. Like it sounds like, because I'm that person. Because like the meal prep and all that kind of stuff. And I was in the 20 years in the Marine Corps. So when I retired and then I wasn't working out the same way I was there, like I went from 170 when I retired to 210 now, or, you know, 10 years later, 11 years later. And it's like, I can't eat the way I want to, but man, that, you know, Jersey Mike's, you know, great kahuna sub, I can tear that. I can still put the whole thing down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I understand. So answer this question for me, because we're almost out of time here.
Yeah.
So then what do you say the real cost of success is?
Man, I think you got to get clear. And that's the biggest. If you want success, you can fumble around through it. You can lose your fortune. You can lose. The main thing is really getting clear on what it is that you want. And that's what I learned in rehab. That's where, you know, I started figuring out Dr. Bob. You know, I told him one day, I said, I'm so excited to get out of here and show my family. They're like, I'll do anything for my family. I'll flip burgers at McDonald's. And he goes, you're a dumb motherfucker then. In classic Bob way. I'm like, whoa, I thought that'd be a good thing, that I'm just all excited to get back to my family. And he said, if you haven't learned enough about yourself that you think you're going to go do that, it's like, that's exactly how you'll compromise your own integrity. You'll do shit that you know is below what you're capable of accomplishing. And then you're going to fill that void with stupid substances like you've learned how to fill other voids with. And I'll see your dumb ass back here in a few weeks. I was
Damn,
like,
Dr. Bob.
Yeah, he had my number, man. He hit me right between the eyes. And that's when I realized I really do need to go in and get clear on what is it that I want. And once that clarity was there, I was able to, I lived on my mom's floor and slept on the floor with my wife and two kids, which is not a pleasant situation. She wanted to kill me. But that's what I knew I had to do to get clear. And that was the price of success, is being true to me and being clear on what that meant. So I knew what I was after, instead of a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because all that diluted effort was just, I was pissing everything away instead of doing anything with measurable results.
So it was exactly what you said. It was diluted.
Yep.
Look here, folks. Again, if you're finding Justin through us or us through Justin, take a moment, like, share, and follow. You can find him at It's Justin Lund on Instagram. Again, if you're just following us, make sure you join us next week. We have a gentleman named Alex Kahn coming on. He's a world-renowned leadership mentor and business strategist who's helped hundreds of founders. We're back on founders. Must be founders time right now. Service providers and fractional leaders transform their expertise into scalable, high-impact personal brands. As a founder of Born to Lead, Alex has guided clients on every continent with over 30 million in collective client revenue generated under his mentorship. Make sure you come and join us for that one. He even walked away. This was one that threw me off. You ready for this one? walked away from a promising NCAA coaching career, navigating through 3 failed ventures, invested over $200,000 in misaligned business programs, only to discover that what his industry lacked wasn't knowledge, but alignment.
Okay. Love that.
So you'll be, Justin will be watching next week.
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin. I know you don't log off afterwards. We got to talk for just a moment. I know you've inundated yourself with, I don't even know how many episodes we're up to, like 300 and some at this point.
That's awesome.
I've absolutely lost track. But at the end of every episode, the guest always gets the final word. So what's our final word tonight?
Well, it's been great to be here. Thanks for having me. And I would say if there's anything that I can help with, I feel like some of the lessons I've learned have kind of given me a calling now that I would like to help as many people avoid some of the expensive tuition bills that I've paid. So if there's anything that resonates, anything strikes a chord, from addiction to business to personal assistance, come and hit me up on Instagram. I'm personally in all the DMs. I answer them all. I get in there myself. I love that. I love connecting. So come find me over there. I'm happy to help.
Alrighty, folks. Be sure to push your stools in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.